Hey guys, Raider here. Hope you're all doing great and having a fantastic day. For all my fellow drone pilots, this can be a little tech video, so if you want to duck out, I totally don't blame you. But for the rest of you, today we are going to be doing a deep dive into the Samsung Galaxy Book Pro 360. This is a 2-in-1 laptop. Comes in both 13.3 and 15.6 inch variants. As you can see, 2-in-1 means touchscreen. This is a maxed out 15.6 version. That means it has 1 terabyte SSD, 16 gigabytes RAM. There's also an 8 gigabyte and 512 gigabyte, let me start over, an 8 gigabyte RAM and 512 gigabyte SSD version as well. You can pick this up. I wouldn't pay full price for this. That's the thing. I think the retail is like $1,500, which I think is pretty ridiculous for just something with integrated graphics, with its main selling point being the portability and obviously this beautiful OLED screen. If you can get it at a reduced price, something off eBay, something like that, get it under the $1,000 mark like I did, I think it's a pretty great deal. So without further ado, let's take a look over some of the basic features of it. This is a full HD panel, so that's 1920 by 1080p on this 15.6 inch display, which I know that's kind of like right at the breaking point. Is that enough? For me, I say it's yeah, and we're going to do a deep dive when we get to the display part of this video, in which we'll do some pixel peeping on a 4K screen, a 1440p, another 1080p larger screen, and then compare it to this. And I think you'll find that it holds up really well. The laptop comes with a 65 watt charging brick that you can use with all your devices. It's really great. This charges up the Tab S7 Plus really fast, and that comes with a 45 watt, so the 65 watts even faster, potentially anyway. But I charged my Fold 3 and all the devices around the house with it. This thing is a heavy brick, but it's great, so this comes with it. In addition to that, what you also get in the box is the good old trusty S Pen. I'm not a big S Pen user, but many illustrators, artists, stuff of that nature like to use them. It's great for messing with your timelines and stuff like that. And as you can see, the screen kind of speaks for itself. We're not at max brightness or anything. It goes up quite a bit from here. The brightness doesn't get too bright, but you can adjust that to further increase the brightness in the Intel graphics display settings. Also, the display is 16 by 9, which I'm a fan of for media and for a lot of productivity tasks because you can get the toolbars on the side. In addition to that, this has 2 USB-C ports. One of these are Thunderbolt 4 on this side, and we also have one more on the right side along with an audio port. This features a numpad on the keyboard, so this is nice to have, such as in my situation, if you're writing code or entering a lot of numbers, it's just nice to have. You know who you are if you want it, and if you don't. So let's start with why I picked up this laptop over so many other options out there. Well, the main reason, probably to start with, is I'm already in the Samsung ecosystem quite heavily. This is a Tab S7 Plus, which I love a lot. And this also is useful as a second screen for this laptop. In addition to that, I'm using the Fold 3. So all my calls and all my text messages, they show up right here on the laptop, on the tablet, to where basically when I'm around the house, it's really nice because it sort of makes it to where you just kind of pick whatever device you want, and they're all the same as far as your basic functionality. You know, you're doing your calls, your texts. You can link share and quick share between all the devices. So it's basically like they're kind of streamlined into being one unit, and I just kind of pick one based on the screen size I want to deal with at the time. More often than not, when I just want to sit around with it for entertainment purposes, I'll pick up the S7 Plus. This thing sits in my lap really great. Got the little keyboard and stand that comes with it. When I'm sitting here in the house and I just want to do a lot of one-handed stuff and all that, I use a Fold 3. The aspect ratio kind of sucks on it, so it's not the best for viewing media. However, I do like flipping it over into portrait mode and having YouTube on the top, which is basically the equivalent of a regular phone tilted on its side in landscape, while still being able to troll the comments and all that at the bottom. So it's pretty sweet on the Fold 3 for that. And when I want a larger screen experience, or if I'm just sitting here at the desk, that's where this laptop comes in as far as media consumption goes. So this is nice when I'm sitting here at work and I don't want to be on YouTube at work because you never know what Big Brother's looking at. So this is kind of the screen I like to have sitting off to the side, just having some side stuff going and all that. It's either this or the Tab 7 Plus, both of them, they're both fine for it. And so far, I've had like zero reliability issues with this laptop. It's worked great. I'm actually quite a big fan of the keyboard too. It's got that clickety-clack type sound. I don't want to do it right now. We'll leave this going. We'll talk about the keyboard and the trackpad in a little bit. All in all, I think it's a great buy, especially if you can get this at $1,000 or under, which if you hop on eBay and look around, you can certainly do that. I got mine for a lot less than that. And at less than that, it's a bargain. It's a steal. I think some of the my favorite things that I really like about it, in compared to like a lot of the other laptops I've had over the years, is just how thin and light it is. I mean, we turn this over to its side. This thing totally combined, go like this. This is 0.47 inches right here. So basically, not even half an inch, which if we take the Tab S7 Plus and we put it up next to it, like I said, this is gonna be a long video, guys. We're just gonna talk about everything. If we can get those in frame there. It's pretty darn close. You put the keyboard cover on there and it's gonna be equal. Right now the tablet's just a tad bit thicker. All in all, I mean, they're about the same though. Let's go ahead and get this tablet set back up. I will probably do a video on that later, at least comparing the two. And let's see, let's get this open. Fingerprint scanner on the front. Pretty accurate, brings you right back in. Don't have too many issues with it. Sometimes I have to hit it twice, but that's at the most. Let's see, what else do I have on my list here? So I do want to talk about, let's start off with the display, because I think that's this laptop's main selling point, besides the 2-in-1 features. We'll talk briefly about that. I'm not a big 2-in-1 person, though I do love, this is my main reason, and this is going to sound really petty and really silly. My main reason over the years that I've always liked having a 2-in-1, and even when I've had a regular like MSI gaming machine, stuff like that weren't touchscreen, I'd always like to have another 2-in-1 on standby for media and little quick things, because it's just so refreshing to go up here and when you're done with something, hitting that X. I don't know what it is about it, but hitting the X in the corner of an application as opposed to hitting that trackpad. I know it sounds so petty, but it just brings me such enjoyment. I like it. The other reason I like the 2-in-1 feature is because when I'm working with music scores and guitar tablature and stuff like that, it's really nice to just be able to quickly zoom in and out of certain areas. Some of it's scanned copies and stuff from my instructors, so it's really nice to be able to just zoom in and hone in on what I want. So let's talk about this display. So it's 1080p. This is Super AMOLED, which means it has a digitizer layer built in. This is a 16:9 aspect ratio, and I know for many of you that's gonna be like, oh, 16:9, but the thing is like most of these aspect ratios has been out for a long time. As you can see on the screen right now, here, I'll go ahead and put a graphic up on the screen. Go ahead and take a screenshot of that, and that'll give you a breakdown of when these different screen aspect ratios came out. But basically, the newest one we have is 3:2, which came out in 2013, but 16:10's been out since 2003, and 16:9 since the mid-1990s. And 16:9 and 16:10 flip-flop quite often. You have a 16:10 on this Tab S7 Plus, 16:9 here. And there's some benefits to having a 16:9 screen, and I want to talk about that before we like do some pixel peeping and stuff. So for the biggest thing, like people are talking about 3:2 for productivity. You know, your latest MacBook's 3:2. If you go on like Tom's Hardware Guide and all these different sites, they're basically screaming and raving about 3:2 just being the new standard. It's the way it should be. And I suppose for a lot of use cases that is true. But I find, however, for doing light video editing like I do, working with music, which means I'm working with digital audio workstations, plugins, things of that nature, and working in development tool IDE, so integrated development environments, for all those type of situations, for me personally, it pays to have a wider screen than a taller screen. The reason being, like even when I'm working with code, here, let's get out of the full screen here so we have some context. When I'm working with code, we have toolbars that are off to the right, and we have browser windows and stuff to get to our objects and our database scheme and all that. That'll be here to the left. So as all these toolbars are filling up, and these are vertical toolbars only, you do not want to run any of these horizontal. They will look like garbage. You can do it, but you're going to be scrolling like crazy just to get to the basic stuff. Let's go ahead and back this up. So as having said that, I start losing a lot of real estate on my middle section where I need to write code. This also holds true when I have my different tracks and audio sources plugged in on the left, and I need to deal with my actual wave files that are here on the right. I start running out of space horizontally. So, and the other thing too is, besides not having too many toolbars and stuff, which takes up a lot of your space, there's the navigation aspect that I think a lot of people are really skipping over that. So on your keyboard, you have page up and page down abilities. So you can go up and down the screen. You know, you can do this easily with page up, page down. You have your arrow keys. You also have your home and in button, which gets you to the top and bottom. And pretty much everyone that uses a mouse, you're going to have a scroll wheel on it. So you're going up and down with your scroll wheel. So you have all these different ways of easily getting up and down your screen. But what do you have that gets you left to right? What do you have? You have the left and right arrow keys, right? To get further left and further right. And on a very few of you will have a mouse that has a left to right scroll wheel, you know, a 3D scroll wheel, which are always kind of janky because they're usually just one speed. So you have very few ways of going left to right, but you have almost infinite possibilities going up and down. So for me, losing some of that top and bottom real estate is a lot easier to deal with, since I can go up and down in this area so much easier than losing some of the width and having a hard time going left to right. You know, imagine working with source code and I'm only able to see 4 or 5 words of the first line of code that I'm working on. And then I got to sit there and keep navigating to the end of the line to see what's going on, especially when you have all your toolbars, property windows, and stuff like that set up. So for me personally, I prefer 16 by 10. I think it's the best of all worlds. You get a little bit more height, you do lose a little bit of width, but it's a real nice compromise. You know, it still shows media very well. You just have to zoom in a little bit and you just lose a little bit of your video, but you know what I mean. The black bars are very minimal on a 16 by 10, aspect ratio. So I really do feel like that's kind of the best of all worlds. 3 by 2, you're getting big black bars on the top and bottom. It's great for documents, don't get me wrong. I mean, 3 by 2, you're getting more like this. That's an exaggeration, of course, but you know what I mean. You're getting more height, less width, and by doing so, automatically you're going to lose a numpad. On a machine this size, you'd have to go up to like a 17-inch to get that numpad back. I work with code all the time. You know, I'm working with figures, algorithms, calculations, stuff for AI, all these different things. This is a necessity for me. Like if it wasn't on this keyboard and I was using it for these purposes, which I do on my own personal stuff, then I would basically have to hook up another keyboard. I lose supportability and stuff. So it really does come down to use cases as far as that goes. So for me personally, I really like the 16 by 9 and 16 by 10. And in this machine, given this beautiful screen and given the 2-in-1 features, you know, the ability to just take it and do this real quick so you can get it. This is nice for me because now I can get it really close to the edge of the table while I'm working and stuff, which means it's right front and center if I have the keyboard flipped under. And we can also just do this, you know. You have all these abilities. And in this situation, for this type of machine, 16 by 9 is awesome. It really is. You don't want black bars in this type of viewing angle. You don't want that. This makes for a nice viewing experience. And for me personally, knowing that this is just going to be something I can quickly grab, I'm just going to do light duty stuff with it. 16 by 9 for me, not an issue at all. I totally welcomed it. I'm not one of them that hops on the hype train or anything, and I definitely don't want 3 by 2, and that is the latest hype train. You get 3 by 2 or it's nothing. No thank you, not interested. I've had 3 by 2 screens before. They've been out for about 10 years now. Not interested. I don't like that boxiness. I like the media consumption, and I like being spoiled with nice looking media. And I do consider content consumption, the media experience, a big factor in buying these devices. You know, this isn't my work machine. My work machine is over here. It's a desktop type setup. You know, it's a laptop, but it's all docked in and stuff. You know, I'm not leaving. I'm sitting there working. For something on the go where I am watching a lot of YouTube, Netflix, HBO Max, just kicking back, chilling, which I do a lot in the evenings with a device like this, it's really nice. It's nice not seeing bars. You know, you do have a little bit of bezel here, which actually works out pretty well when you're in tablet mode because you have somewhere to rest your thumbs. People don't think of these things, but actually as you start using the product, it really does start to become relevant. You know, you put this in tablet mode, I can now hold this right here and look where my thumb's resting. So I'm working in an application like Clip Studio, Clip Art, whatever it may be, and it's also an area for me to just rest and move it around while I'm doing the whole tablet thing. So, I mean, they did think of a lot of things. That also gets you the benefit. I know I'm going all over the place and I wasn't expecting this to be that way, but I should have known better. You know, I just like talking about text, so I'm not going to really follow this format I have here on the tablet anymore. We're just going to keep talking. The other thing that this little chin here allows for is a much deeper deck, which allows for a very large and luxurious trackpad. I like this trackpad a lot. This is glass, Windows Precision drivers. I think it works really well. I think it's great for a Windows computer. This, you know, it's not a MacBook trackpad. Don't get me wrong. It's not the same as that, but it's darn close. It's really good. And in addition to that, on your keyboard, you have 4-way lighting, so off, 1, 2, and 3. And you have the ability for it to auto turn off and auto sense that you're around it. Keyboard, no gripes at all. It has a nice clickety. You can just feel a little type of click when you're using it. I don't know, it has a nice response. I don't have any issues using it. I'm not a big keyboard fan on laptops, I never have been, but this one at least is somewhat usable. I sort of like it, it's all right. So the next thing to talk about on the display, this one gets brought up a lot whenever you see a lot of reviews and stuff on this laptop, is the overall display brightness. So it's rated supposedly at around 400 nits on most channels or whatever that have reviewed this. They say it's closer to 300. I probably have to tend to agree with them. It is on the, I don't want to say dimmer side because indoors it's totally fine. I don't even know if I'm on max right now. Let me see. No, I'm not. It can go up brighter than this. So there we go. Here indoors, I'm usually at like 2 or 3 ticks below max and it looks totally bright and fine. I wouldn't want it any brighter than that. However, if you're in a situation where you're going outside or you have a lot of windows that bring in a lot of light, because this is a very reflective screen, which has its drawbacks in that it does reflect, but it does have the benefit in that it does bring out the sharpness and the color vibrancy. You get that from a reflective screen like this. But back to the brightness. If you're working outdoors, whatever, just go to the Start menu, Intel. You will open up the Graphics Command Center. If you hear any background noise, I'm sorry. We've got kids around here. It's bath time, all that good stuff. So you will go here to, let's see, is it home? No, so that's this one that has a little monitor icon. You'll go to color. All right, and then you can click on default, or if you want to mess with a custom one, you can. But just on default, you will go and scroll down just a little bit. And you want to make sure all colors is selected. There's an option to do RGB in all colors. Pick all colors, and you'll notice here that the setting here is set to 38 and this goes out of 100. So I'm pretty much convinced that Samsung and Intel decided to keep this at lower than the average 50 to help prevent OLED burn-in. But you as the end user and someone that buys this, you can go ahead and up this if you want. And you see here, we're gonna bring this up. Bam. So we just bumped the brightness quite a bit. And we can go even higher. Gets a little intense, a little too bright. But we go back down here, here's 32. I'm gonna bring it back up to its default. I leave it at its default just because I want it to last at least a couple years before I consider an upgrade. You know, and that upgrade will probably be when quantum dot OLED technology really starts taking off, which is going to be in the next year or two. We're going to see that hit pretty heavy. But in the meantime, I just keep it at 38, so I don't worry about the burn-in. I'm within their recommended settings, and it seems to be fine. But if you need to go outdoors and give it a boost, go ahead. There you go. Give it a boost. All right, so we're back. So another concern that many of you are going to have is 1080p enough on a 15.6-inch screen? Now, the smaller variant, the 13.3, that's automatic. 1080p is going to look totally fine on there. It's great. I haven't heard of anyone complaining about the resolution on that size screen. You're not going to find it on Reddit, anywhere online. There's no complaints. However, you will see a handful of gripes about 1080p not being enough on this 15.6 inch. So for those of you that are very sensitive to resolution, And some of you are. Some people are very sensitive to it. I would strongly suggest you just go into a store and take a look for yourself. You know, don't take my word for it. Don't take any reviewer's word. You want to be able to see it for yourself, because you may or may not be turned off by what you see. Personally, I think it's a great display, especially with it keeping the price point down. It also helps extend the battery a little bit. And since these are integrated graphics, it is helpful to not have to push so many pixels. So there are some benefits to the 1080p. And as far as the viewing goes, I think it's a nice screen. Do I think it's as nice as, say, the Tab S7 Plus? And here, I'll do you something. I'll go ahead and let's put the resolution and all the specs for the screen for the Galaxy Book Pro 360. I'll put them up here on this side. And then we'll put the Tab S7 Plus up here on this side. And to be quite honest, this is a better screen. The S7 Plus is better, especially if I like take out my contact lens and really, because I'm nearsighted, if I take out my contact lens and get real close to the screen, in which I can see it real clear when I'm close, that's just part of being nearsighted, I can definitely see the pixels on this just like I can on my 4K TV, just like I can on my 1440p monitor, which is sitting right back here, and just like I can on my other 1080p monitor. I can see them. On the S7 Plus, these pixels are so dense, much like on the Fold 3, that I can barely make them out. I really have to focus for a little bit, and then I can start to tell. However, from a distance, sitting back and using these devices at a normal, just viewing distance, they're both great. I think they really do compete with each other. And, you know, just to prove that out a little bit, let's do a quick comparison of these two. I use big icons and all that, so I'm not stressing out my eyes and all that. Let's go to library history.
Cutting your burrito? Such a burger.
All right, wait for this ad to end. I'll go ahead and turn the volume down so we don't have too much of it. Just take a look side by side. S7 Plus, this is like, it's over 2K. So this is over a QHD display. I know the DPI on this, or I should say the PPI, pixels per inch, is like almost 100 more. This is well into the 200s. This is down to the 100 something range. 120 hertz display, 60 hertz display. And honestly, from day-to-day use, 60 hertz doesn't bother me on here at all. Not at all. It's nice to have on the tablet when you're interacting with something like your phone. When you're swiping left to the right all the time, you know, you get that smoothness of your home screen widgets and your applications and stuff. But when you're on a computer and you're running the Windows OS, you're not really getting the benefits of having those type of interactions anyway. You know, there's not that fluidity of animation in Windows. So to me, like the 60 hertz for casual use, we're not talking gaming here. Gaming you want more, of course. But for casual use and watching, you know, pictures like this, it's just not even a noticeable aspect. But here you see both screens side by side. I think they both look amazing. They both look great. They really do. I'm not disappointed with either one. I love this tablet, by the way. So at this time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut away to some other footage. And I'm sorry if this is kind of dragging on, but of me basically doing some pixel peeping on like one of the 4K TVs we have here, my 1440p monitor, and another giant 1080p screen, which there's some people that are concerned that, 1080p on 15.6. Well, I'm using 1080p on a 39-inch screen for work, and for writing code and doing things like that, it's totally fine. I mean, I could put in an order at work right now and they'd send me out a different monitor. I choose not to. I've had it for like 10 years. Now I'm kind of curious, how long is it going to last? So I'm just going to keep using it till the wheels fall off. Turn the brightness down on this a little bit. You see it gets plenty bright. Look at this, we're up there. So, all right, we'll go ahead and cut to that footage and then we'll come back. So this is my 39-inch 1080p 60 hertz TV that I use for work. The 1080p, even at this size, even though the pixels are fully spread out, does not really bother me. Let's go ahead and see if we can pixel peep. There you go. There's the pixels. See those pixels? You can see the pixels very clearly, the separation. You see that square grid pattern. Alright, so that's pixel peeping. Pixel peeping this 39-inch 1080p 10-year-old display from a distance. It's not too bad. I mean, it's doable. You sit back from a distance. For work, it's fine. Just writing some code, database stuff, all that, no problems. I can get a new monitor if I want it. I just choose not to. I'm kind of curious to see how long this will last. All right, let's go over to my desktop PC monitor. That's a 1440p, 165 hertz newer monitor, as in the past year or so. Let's go switch over to that. All right, this is a Gigabyte 32-inch, 165 hertz, 1440p monitor. This is a curved monitor, a slight curve anyway. Beautiful display, love it. Do some casual gaming with it. Videos being played in 4K. For all these examples are in 4K. It's a nice monitor. Let's do some pixel peep. There we go. You can see that the pixels are much closer together than on the older 1080p, but they still do exist. Pixels are always there. Alright, let's go over to a larger 4K TV, more in the 50-inch area, and let's see what those look like as far as pixelation. Alright. Alright guys, so we're looking at a 4K TV, bigger panel, beautiful display. A little bit of dimming. You can see the dimming. Alright, let's do some pixel peeping. Boom. QHD looks better to me. I'd even say at this size, the Galaxy Book Pro 360 looks better as far as the actual pixel density. So there you have it. It's not always in the numbers, it's also in the size. Alright guys. Alright, now we have the 1080p 60 hertz OLED screen for the Galaxy Book Pro 360. I'd say so far of all the ones we looked at, just from a distance, this one looks the best. Let's get in and look at those pixels. I'm having a hard time getting it to even do it. Let me try to zoom in a little bit, see if it helps. No? You can see a little bit of pixelization, but not much. It's like staring close at your phone, and the reason being is because the screen size is so small that it makes the 1080p, 4K, to 1440p, it just, there's a little bit of pixels. You can kind of see it now. It makes that number not near as important as on a larger screen. The best looking screen I have in my house, of the 4Ks and all that, even over the Tab S7 Plus, is what I'm holding right now to take these pictures, and that's probably the Fold 3. It has the highest pixel per inch density. See just a tight bit of pixelization there, a tiny bit. Let's zoom in a little bit more to see if we can get some to come in. Now we're just getting the distortion lines from the camera. Alright. That's a darn good looking screen. Alright guys. Alright guys, we're back. So, what'd you guys think of that? It's definitely interesting, huh? So a lot more pixelization on the 4K than you think. You know, it really does come down to how much you have per screen area that you're working with. You know, as you're going up, you need more pixels. To me, like, once you're past 30 something inches, 4K is almost like the minimum if you're looking for that real high def look. And for most home TVs, you know, us watching 55, 60, 65 inch should all be 8K at a minimum. Like 4K is not enough, as you saw there, really. But the reason it is good enough for us, because there's the reality. And the reality is that you're not 6 inches away from your TV looking for pixels. You're sitting back in the comfort of your home, on your couch with your loved ones, and you're enjoying a movie from a distance. And that's what it's about. If you get up to this screen, and you put your face right up to it, you start putting magnifying glasses up to it. We can do that right now. Let's get a magnifying glass. You start doing these things, you're gonna see pixels all day. But sitting here casually, I don't think most of you will, except those of you that are ultra sensitive, like I mentioned. And for you, you know who you are. You know that you have to have 4K at this size. Another thing too, if you're still on the fence and you're unsure, just for those of you that don't know, competitive gamers, people that actually are pro gamers, they make money at it, they do it for a living, like they are that hardcore, they only use 1080p screens. They will not go up in resolution, and they use 1080p up to 24.5 inches. 24.5 inches is the sweet spot for being able to get everything on your eyeball within your field of view without having to turn your head left and right and up and down to take in enemies and other characters, in seeing all your background that you need to stay focused on. You're able to get your whole screen in your field of view at a 24.5 inch and lower screen. So a lot of guys are running 24.5 inch screens, 1080p. And the reason is because they get that high refresh rate, now up to 360 FPS. You can only get that, you can only push that at 1080p currently. You know, it's not feasible to try to push graphics cards and current technology at QHD and 4K when it's just not able to. There's too many thermals, it's too hot, there's too many issues. 1080p is safe. You know, they can play all day on it, and they can push it. They can push these fast frame rates. And you would think that, wow, that lack of resolution, how can they hone in on their enemies? How can you aim an aiming reticle on top of an enemy and actually nail them? Well, it's because 1080p really is still good enough. It's good enough for pro gamers. There you go. So that's up for you to decide.
So I realized as I'm sitting here doing this edit and reviewing the footage that I completely forgot to talk about the battery life and webcam. So battery life for me, I am getting on average, I would say roughly, let's say around 10 to 12 hours a day. 12 hours being the tops. And if I'm using it quite heavily, or I'm actually doing anything real like video editing stuff, that number goes down quite a bit. You know, you'll get down to the 6, 7, 8 hour mark. However, I still say that's pretty good. It's not nearly close to their 21 hour mark, but it's still not bad. One thing I will mention too is that the standby time is fantastic. Like, I never turn this laptop off, like not once. So it just sits there in standby and just lose a few percent a day if I don't use it. So you pretty much treat it just like your phone and your tablet. As far as the webcam, hold on, let me grab something real quick. All right, guys, so I'm back. As I was about to say, for the webcam, I don't have any inputs on the internal webcam for this because, like most other laptops I use, I haven't used it, and I'm not a big webcam person. And when I do use a webcam, I use an external one on everything I own, my desktop, laptops, whatever. This is 1080p, dual lenses. You can pick one of these up for like 70 bucks, and it's just gonna blow anything that comes built into any of these laptops out of the water, by far. It's not even a close comparison. So for me, I can't provide you guys any inputs on the webcam. I just stick with this external solution for everything. For my drum lessons, Google Duo, all that kind of stuff. That's what this webcam's for. So that's what I use.
So why do I use these Samsung products and not Apple? You know, the elephant in the room is, why not get a MacBook Pro or MacBook Air about the same price and have, which is probably a faster processor, not probably, it is a faster processor. The M1 is an awesome chip. And the problem with me is as a drone freestyle pilot, Apple does not support the apps I need. So on my Fold 3, and sometimes I use them on my tablet, we have Beta Flight Configurator, BL Heli Suite, DigiView, These are all applications that I use to program the quads, to get them tuned, to link my radio up and make all these adjustments, and to share the experience out with people in the field. And they're all Android only. Apple doesn't support it. So if it was the other way around, this would probably be a video on the MacBook Pro, and I would have probably an iPad sitting here, whatever it may be. But as it turns out, it's not. Some of the things I really like with just this laptop adds is the further integration with the ecosystem like I was mentioning. For example, I can use my Tab S7 as a second screen for this one. And not only, I would say it's even more robust than Sidecar in that it transmits sound over, you can adjust the resolution, and you don't have to be within the 30-meter radius, just on the same wireless. So you can basically go anywhere in your house, your apartment, your dorm room, and it's great for people that are into music, like myself, that are using digital audio workstation. And it's also great for content creators that are using video editing software to start a project on the laptop and then go ahead and start the second screen feature and to be able to continue it on your tablet and still have audio. It's nice to be, you want to preview your timeline. You want to preview what you're recording on your DAW for any of the stuff you have open. Let's say I have some stems and whatnot. That brings us to another feature. So if I have some stems I want to share across the computer, since stems are just recordings that you do as a musician, or say I have some media files that I want to drop into an edit, you also have the ability for quick share and link share. So quick share is basically the equivalent to Apple's AirDrop. It's basically just one more option whenever you're sharing any type of content, whether it be on the laptop, on the Fold 3, or any of the Samsung flagship phones, and the Tab S7 Plus, or any of these higher end ones, even the S6. They all have the quick share feature and are able to transmit and receive files. And it's really quick and convenient. You just click on an item, you go to share it, and pick which device you want to send it to. Link share takes it a step further, in which on anything you want to share, you can generate a link and it will upload that content basically to your own personal cloud storage. And then whoever you send that link to, they're able to go ahead and access it. You can assign security to it, a passcode, or just leave it anonymous. All these things are just nice, convenient features, and they all interact with each other. And I think I mentioned earlier as well, like when I get a phone call, comes up on the Fold 3, boom, it's on all three devices. So if I'm sitting here on my laptop, and that's the one thing I just can't stress enough that I really, really love, is that when I'm on any one of these devices, I know with 100% certainty I don't need to have my phone near me. Phone could be sitting anywhere in the house. Doesn't matter. I can have it sitting on the wireless charger, which oftentimes is what I do. I'll just put it on there and top it off. And I can go anywhere in the house. Boom, I get a phone call. It comes in. I can take it. If I got my buds in my ears, it's wireless. If not, I'll just do the quick speaker call here on there. It sounds fine. And if it comes up on the Tab S7, same thing. And it comes up on both of them. Whatever one I'm actively using, you're going to get the call and text on that device. And you'll be able to interact with it. It's not just one way. You can text right back. So I'm just texting on here. The other thing too is Windows has the new phone feature, which now lets you basically control your phone and all the Android apps and run them on the screen. So you're basically running Android within it, which is a nice feature. And in addition to that, you have Samsung DeX on this end of things, which allows you to go ahead and transmit that to this screen. One thing I forgot to touch base on is the sound, the audio on this. So out of the box, it's pretty terrible. For some reason, I have no idea why, Samsung decided to have Dolby Atmos disabled out of the box on this device. And Dolby Atmos, like if you've been around Samsung for a while, you know that setting makes a pretty significant difference on any device you enable it on, whether it be your tablet, your phone. However, on this device here, on the laptop, it makes a profound difference. It actually makes a huge difference. And I'm really stunned that it comes disabled by default. I'll go ahead and show you how to enable that real quick and what settings I use. And when I do turn this on, it makes one heck of a difference, a huge difference. Go to the start menu, you're gonna type, and I love, that's another, just on having a 2-in-1, just being able to actually physically just get to it, as opposed to pecking around for a button. I like it. Dolby Access, we'll go ahead and open that up. We'll go to settings. So you see that all these are grayed out right here. And disable all speaker and headphone effects is turned on. This is how it comes from Samsung. When you get this laptop, this is a setting that will be enabled. And if you want to wake this laptop up and actually make it sound, it just comes alive. It makes it breathe, it makes the vocals come out brighter. Wow, there we go. And right now, I just hear a big difference. I don't know how much that'll pick up on this little lav mic, but an astounding difference in the audio quality. We're going to turn all the effects and settings off by enabling this setting, which is how it comes default. Let me get the audio up here for you guys. And how much do I have it loud in YouTube? Let me see here. Oh, we have it really up. Okay, so here it is, how it comes from the factory to you. This is all the settings disabled in Dolby. Now we're going to turn Dolby Atmos on. We also have some additional settings. We come here, equalizer. A lot of times I turn off this surround virtualizer. I turn it off and it keeps more of the sounds focused. It makes a larger difference when you're listening to music, something that has vocals, instrumentation in it. I don't want to get a copyright strike though. I think you guys get the idea. So that was a little sample of the audio. It sounds pretty good once you enable that. Certain things sound better than others, like I mentioned. All in all, not too bad. The other thing too is, keep in mind that this turns into a tablet. You have full tablet support with it. It's definitely handy to have. It's nice for just navigating stuff too for someone that doesn't use the S Pen much. And that's saying something for someone that doesn't use the S Pen to still want this device and still enjoy it. So for me, I plan on using this for the next couple years. Just casual visual editing, no gaming. This isn't a gaming machine. If you want a gaming machine, get something with a dedicated GPU, or even better, just build a desktop. It's just made for light productivity and enjoying wonderful entertainment like this. I do recommend it, especially on sale, but full price is just too much. All right, guys. Well, I really appreciate you stopping by, and as always, thanks for watching.